Well, good morning, fellas. Mr. Halter here at the Post Commons. If you're wondering why I'm sitting amidst a lot of women's denim wear and vintage boots, it's because we do pop-up businesses in our shop. So right now we have a young woman that's trying to start a little boutique. So anyway, that's why. Hey, we are at the end of the story of Samuel. And here's today's reading. It says that, and Samuel died. So there's your reading for the day. We've been in this pretty incredible story of, the judges and then the people of God asking for a king. And Samuel's this man, the very faithful man that's caught in the middle of this time. And he's at the end of his life. David has already sort of started his journey, but old Samuel has put in his time, and God finally calls him forward, and so I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of my wrap up on this thing. As I'm getting a little bit older, 57 now, it's funny, I think when you get to the other side of 50, you think a lot more about what's coming. That's why I said he kind of moves you forward. I kind of view death like that. It's like not the end of a life, it's sort of the beginning of this new eternal story that's such a great part of the story of God, that we have hope for that. But when I think about Samuel being faithful, a couple things just come to mind. Then I want to give you kind of some practical help about the season that you're in. But one of the things that I picked up, I remember early on when we started this, if you remember the story of Samuel, God was trying to get them to serve him only. Like there would be essentially a theocracy, that God's people would just go to him directly. And because of their constant sin and rebellion, God would have to send them judges, people that would kind of decide over them, how to live life. And so they were a little bit bound to the judges. And then because other neighboring countries had kings, they thought, well, we want a king. And Samuel was the one that said, you don't need another king. Like, you can just go right to God. But they kept persisting. And so Samuel is caught in this sort of kind of in-between pattern where, from his perspective, it must have been a very frustrating way to think about life. Like, it's not plan A, but God sort of gives them what they want, which is a little bit of that's extra credit. I always tell guys, be careful what you ask for from God, because sometimes he'll just give it to you. So if you're asking God for financial blessing and for peace and safety over your children, and then you take all that blessing and you go find a nice house in the gated community, and you close the doors, behind the gates, and you live your comfortable life of ease and whatever. Oftentimes what happens, towards the end of that, you start to go, well, what was my life for? I did have comfort and ease, and I asked God for that, and it appears that he gave it to me. But you also recognize that you miss a lot. So I would say be careful what you ask for, especially if you're asking God for a wealth of provision so that you can just live a fantastic life. He will actually give you that. In fact, I think God oftentimes just gives us what we ask for, but we also have to sort of pay the piper on that. Sometimes if people say, well, I just really want to feel the presence of God and see his supernatural hand in my life, and so you start to ask him for that, oftentimes he's going to bring you into seasons of great risk and faith and suffering. But out of that, you go, oh, I got what I asked for. So I think sometimes there's a gut check, like, what do you really want from God? Is it ease or safety, or is it a sense of, no matter what, I want to follow him? And if you say, God, help me to follow you, then hold on, bro, strap on the saddle, and because you're going for a ride. So that's just something we learned. God lets the Israelite people have a king, and doesn't go that great, doesn't go terrible, but doesn't go great. It's just they got what they deserve. But Samuel is kind of caught in the story of trying to minister and lead people in a not perfect world. And I think there's something to be said for that, is that sometimes I think when we look at the world, even if, in our personal lives, maybe some of you guys that are listening, you've been married a couple times, maybe 9, I don't know. But, I always joke about the plan that I'm on now. I feel like it's plan M. Like, There's been enough times in my life where I've sort of, I don't know if I've walked away from God, but I just wasn't right on track. And I look back and it cost me a few years, or it cost me some struggle. And I know that sometimes, guys, when you have had seasons of your life where, for whatever reason, it's clearly not plan A. You might get discouraged and go, well, then what's the point? But the point of this story is that God does work in imperfect seasons. And he takes whatever we got, and if it is our 14th marriage, he actually will still keep working in our lives. It's unbelievable. If we spent time in the state pen, he's going to work in our lives. If we took 30 years off and we just tried to make money and we never, we're really about the things of God, then he's, wherever you're at, what's the scripture? He always leads us in triumphal entry. Like the direction God always goes is always forward. He never says, hey, let's go back to all your mess and just wallow in that. He always calls us out of that stuff. So there's Samuel giving us a good example of just okay, you guys want a king. It's not going to be perfect, but I will still serve God. And Samuel was always faithful no matter what sort of season he was in. And I think that's the key part of that. Second thing I just want to mention is that there's a part that stuck out to me where it said that Samuel created a stone altar to remember the things that God had done for the people of Israel. And that stuck with me. He always made a point to build this altar that he could remember what God has done. Very helpful when you're on plan K, M, L, P. To do something every day where you go, look, I'm going to start the day. I would say start the day by remembering what God's done for you. And it's called an Ebenezer. There's a great old hymn, Come Thou Fount, that talks about raising our Ebenezer. And it's a part where we go, every day I'm just going to go putting that down this morning in prayer. It's going to be in my vision. I'm going to remember what God did for me. And out of that, it's going to change my whole perspective for what I'm doing. So that's the second thing that I picked up from old Samuel. Third thing, probably the biggest, is that he just finishes well. There was a anointing on Samuel's life from an early age that was not special. I talked to you guys about this. We're all called. Every one of us has a calling from God. So all of us are anointed for something. And Samuel, early on, his parents recognized it, and he was set apart. That's what anointing means. It means to be set apart, or called means to be set apart. There's something unique for you to do. There's a unique thumbprint that God's put on your life. And so Samuel, he gets a very early sense of this, and then he makes it to the end. And then he dies. And I just, think about just finishing well. It's a very influential book in my life that was given to me in my mid-30s. Called The Making of a Leader, and I recommend all of you grab it. It's by a guy named Bobby Clinton, who was a professor at Fuller Seminary at the time. And he studied men that finish well, men that don't finish well. And he figured out only about 30% of men finish well. And finish well to him meant that at the end of their life, they love Jesus more. They're still vibrantly looking for ways to serve him and to work in the world. That there's more of a smile and a sense of peace in their lives, but they're still fired up about God. And he talked about 6 phases of life. I want to just kind of run through this, because I think it might be interesting for you young guys and for you old guys. But he said there's basically 6 phases of every man's life. And the first one he calls sovereign foundations. And that's just as you grow up and you begin to move towards God. That for some of you, you had the blessing of having a godly family that gave you a sovereign foundation. For many of us, we didn't have that. But it means that it's like a foundational preliminary time in your life where you're getting ready to you're getting interested in God, and you're beginning to get set up for him to speak to you and to call you unto himself. And so some of you remember those times. The second phase is what he calls inner life growth. Inner life growth, and that's where you've now taken the baton. You've moved towards God. You've responded to him, and you begin to develop like an inner foundation of character. I remember in college, that was my inner life growth time. I would spend 3 or 4 hours in the morning with God. I memorized most of the New Testament. I just was so hungry to learn about God and to set that foundation. All my friends were sleeping around except me. They just didn't get it. So I was trying to grow in my knowledge of God, and I was also trying to pay attention to the inner Hugh Halter, the moral life and the moral code, and to try to decide what are the codes that I'm going to bank my life on. And that's what we call the inner life growth era. The goal of that whole season is the character that will be in your life that God can build on, because what you'll find is that God will only build on your life according to the level of character that He can trust you with. So if He just knows, look, you got great skills at public speaking and leading, and you're great at finance, but man, you got no hold on your personal life on the issues of lust and self-control, He's generally not going to dump a whole lot onto your plate, because there's too much that will fall because of the character. So in that inner life growth, guys, I would call it when you're 18 to 30, that's that season of life to just really go, I'm going to bank my life on the way of Jesus, and I'm going to actually say no to things I should be saying no to, say yes to some things I should be saying yes to. So you develop that. The third phase is what he calls ministry maturity, which is really about your stability, about you actually getting even clearer on your gifting. It's, you picture a guy in his late 30s, mid 40s, he's actually lived enough life where he starts to go, I'm not going to waste my time anymore with all that stuff I'm not good at or that I don't even like doing. So they're getting a little bit more focused. They're building. That's the season of that maturing, ministry maturing or life maturing, is that you're building something. And so if you're in that age range, guys, you probably are feeling like you have a lot of ambition, and there's some entrepreneurial spirit. You're taking some risks, but you're working hard. Like, that's what that season is. The fourth season is called life maturing, which Bobby says happens. It's like what God does for every man, is that there's a certain thing that happens in your late 40s, early 50s, where there's a greater degree of suffering. You tend to feel the weight of the world more, and so you, in some ways you could say you're a little bit more bummed out. You're more real. Like you're beginning to lose your ambitions and your illusions about life. You're starting to go, well, I got money, but it doesn't make me that happy. Got a solid family. It's, you're starting to go, there's even physical things that begin to happen for most men in the season, where you start to kind of for the first time think about not being here forever. And so your mind's starting to transfer. And kind of the part of that is that you're developing wisdom. You're getting deeper. And so, man, if I know most of you in that range would go, yeah, I remember a time where it was a darker time. Like, I knew all the same things. I loved Jesus, but man, I just felt like I felt like I was far from Him, or that He was far from me. These are natural things that happen in the life maturing, because it really is about suffering in depth and about you just being stable. Even though you can't feel God or see Him, you still go, but I'm still going to walk and move forward. The fifth is what he calls kind of the fifth stage of how God works with a man, is what he calls convergence. That's where you've clearly lost you lost the illusions, ambitions. You literally are thinking you just want to live for other people. And he says this convergence stage is where you're the most influential at a kingdom level, because when you have no dog in the hunt and you really are just going, look, I'm just here for these younger men and women in my life, for the church, to help other people, you actually end up being more influential. You begin to not build anymore. You start to actually divest, and you start to give stuff away, and you start to hand things down and to hand things over. And so if you find yourself doing that, usually you're in your mid 50s, 60s. You might be reaching convergence. He says most leaders don't reach this point. Most leaders keep working. You picture the 85-year-old guy that is still working as hard as he was when he was in his 20s for the same things that he was working for, stability or security. It's kind of a pathetic look of an older man. But a beautiful picture of a godly man is one that just goes, I got no dog in the hunt. I'm here to just give time to people, and to give my wisdom, to give what I learned in my seasons of suffering. And so convergence can be a really beautiful spot if you accept that and you just move into that. literally, you'll start to be happier if you give your stuff away and you're more available for people. And then that last stage, he calls it afterglow. And he said, very, very few people reach afterglow. This would be like the picture of Billy Graham. It might be the picture of the Apostle John or the Apostle Paul. Like, doesn't matter where they're at. They could be in jail. They could be on an island. They can be, in an assisted living home. But they just love the Lord. All they're thinking about is the Father. And they tend to be, at that point, sages. They're mostly about prayer. They can't be that active anymore. And so they pray and they pray and they pray and they connect with God and they just love. They just, what we call the afterglow. I am not there yet, okay? But guys, I just think about like Samuel being set apart early on and making it all the way to the end and just dying. The rest of the world's going to go on. David's going to muck things up in a little bit. Good and bad leaders are going to come and go. The world's going to keep kind of struggling and travailing. But Samuel's life, it's a picture of a full life, abundant Zoe life, where when he sees the face of the Father, it's going to be, good job, well done, my faithful servant. So, guys, whatever this sort of season of Samuel has been for you, think about how important the life of a man is. Like, your life really matters, guys. And God works with us in different seasons. We're not all in the same season right now. So be thankful for the men in your life that are younger, and try to understand where they're at in life and try to help them with their phase of life. And guys, be thankful for the older guys. And I always say, if you're not dead, there's still a reason why you're here. And especially in a church context, there's nothing more needed than men that have reached convergence and a few men off in the corner in their wheelchairs with a little afterglow spirit on them. Like, us young guys need that stuff, guys. So older men, take heart. Like, you're like the engine underneath the 56 Chevy. You really are. And if you've walked with God faithfully, there's nothing that we need more in God's church than that. And young men, aspire to that and try to get there as soon as you can. So, all right, love you guys. Can't wait for the next bit of teaching. So we'll see you.